Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday's ThetaTalks. My name is Maisha and I will be soon joined with Sanaiyah. Now, this session or this topic is something that all of you should be listening to. Okay, this topic this week is about procrastination. So last week it was tied in with today, which is now why can't I take the next step? Why can't I start? Why do I delay things? Now, every one of you have probably been in that position or situation where you have found excuses or tons of excuses to delay, or of why you're not starting yet, you are not where you want to be yet, why you haven't taken that first step towards that. So if that is you, if you have said I'll do it later, if you have said that it's something that I can wait on and had made tons of excuses for it, now is the time to understand why, so that you can take that action moving forward. Because you never want to be in a position where you aren't able to take that first step. It should be easy. It should be something that is natural to do versus being held back, pulled back, or making excuses for yourself. So if any of you have experienced or have felt this before, please raise your hand. I am one of those people who have turned to procrastination, who have done this. Especially, I remember during the school days, right? We just want to do it last minute, and then in the end, we regret it. So we've already experienced that when you study and wait till last minute, and then you end up regretting it, and still with that sinking feeling, you still end up doing it again and again and again, and you're not sure how to get out of that loop. This is where you have to be right now, so that we can give you some clarity on why. You will be surprised how procrastination plays into your life. What are these root beliefs? What are these root causes of procrastination? And there could be some underlying medical issues.
All right, so I heard you already introducing the topic.
Yes, I was saying how relatable it is to all of us, right? We started off, I remember in school, for me, it was like, I'll do it later, I'll study later, I'll study later, I'll study later. And then you have to cram everything. And then, you regret it at the end of the day, right? So it's something that we've experienced, sporadically at times. And some of us may now have taken that with us as a coping mechanism, right? As something that we have used or got habituated towards. Did you used to have that type of I do it later? I don't think you were the type.
I was the biggest procrastinator, actually. I
Really?
was I was a major procrastinator,
Really?
and what I remember is like I needed that adrenaline rush from the
Hmm.
urgency, the deadline, and I am
Right.
still till today. By the way, I am a certain type of a personality. It's called a creator personality,
Hmm.
where I will not do something unless there is some kind of urgency or deadline. Like I prioritize based on what's due right now or tomorrow. So if I've got 2 weeks to do something, I'm just not going to do it right now because there are
Yeah.
other things that are kind of taking my time, and I see it as a strength. So I
Yeah,
think,
so that's not procrastination, right?
yeah, it's
That's
not
kind of, I
procrastination.
think you've kind of gotten past that procrastination, and now you're more in control of when you do things.
Yes, absolutely. And some of us really do need like like an artificial pressure,
Mm,
right? To kind of like um force us to do something, because otherwise we won't take action. Sometimes
yeah.
it has to do with hormones, right? You need
Mm,
that extra like adrenaline push. You
yes,
need the
yes.
pressure. You need cortisol in your body to start, getting released by the adrenal glands. And
Yeah.
so you put this like pressure of like there's a looming deadline, I have to turn it in.
Hmm.
And procrastinators often rely on that to push the adrenal glands, to push them to do things. So it could be a learned behavior that I'll just
Hmm.
wait for that extra like pressure to secrete the cortisol and adrenaline to push me to do something. It could also be like I don't like my whole energy is like passive, and
Hmm.
I don't want to take action. I'm afraid to take action unless I'm forced to do it. So it could be also because that's your personality, or that's how life has, you know, maybe influenced you to not want to take action until there's some kind of stress
You
or pressure.
know, I was just thinking about this when you were talking about this, and like with my daughter, right? She last year aced her grade 6, and she was very last minute. So she was very last minute, and she said, look, I got all sevens. I was the only one in my class that got all sevens, right? And then for me, I'm like, okay, as a parent, you're like, yeah, but still, you don't want to kind of rely on this again this year, right?
Yeah.
So what I was thinking was sometimes people also overestimate, I think. Is that what it is? Like
Or
she's
it's
over,
it's a it's the learned behavior, right? She
yeah,
learned that if she pushes herself till the last minute,
yeah,
it puts more pressure on her, and that little bit of pressure pushes her to perform better
better,
because
yeah,
there's stress. Like, I need to do well, and
yeah,
she performs better. This is
mm,
okay until the procrastination becomes habitual and a pattern, and now
yeah,
she cannot perform unless she's in that, major time crunch, and then you run out of time, and then, these
yeah,
things kind of like escalate and become problematic.
yeah,
But I think one interesting aspect of procrastination is when you, and this is what one of my students brought up with me, which is why we're kind of talking about this today, right? Is like
yeah,
procrastination also could be putting your dreams off
mm,
or waiting until everything is perfect before you
yeah,
take action, right?
yeah,
It
absolutely.
could be,
Perfectionism is a big one.
yeah, and it could also be staying in a relationship for
Mm.
longer than you should because you're procrastinating
You don't want to
on,
hurt the person
you
or
don't want
be
to hurt the
alone.
person, or you don't want to take action, or you're afraid, or like whatever, and you
Mm-hmm.
procrastinate on the decision,
Yeah.
right? So there's like real life applications where procrastination can like hurt you.
So it's also like an avoidance, right? A type of avoidance,
It could be.
procrastination.
You
Yeah.
could definitely, I would definitely look at it
Yeah.
as a way of like avoiding a situation,
Yeah.
avoiding an outcome you don't want,
Mm.
right? Or a fear. It could also be a fear, right? Procrastination could show
Yeah.
up in so many different ways. I know that for me, because I was a major procrastinator, and I remember in Game of Life class, in Theta Healing Game of Life class, there's actually an exercise for perfectionism versus procrastination,
Mm.
which are like opposite sides of the same coin. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like where you're out of balance, right? Either you are waiting till the last minute, so you delay taking action, or you won't take action because it needs to be perfect. Either
Right.
way, the outcome is you're not taking action appropriately, right?
So
Or when you should.
which like with your particular situation, what did you find out about
Both.
your
I was
both?
swinging between perfectionism and procrastination, which I
Mm-hmm.
see with a lot of clients too, is like you're not just a procrastinator, you might also be a perfectionist.
Mm.
So you will use either excuse to not do something,
Yeah.
because actually underneath that is some kind of fear of success, fear
Yeah.
of failure, fear of being found out as
Mm.
not good enough or worthy of that.
Yeah.
um, so there's always like a fear underneath this
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And also I think, because I'm actually doing a workshop about this weekend, right? I'm doing an
Mm.
inner child workshop. So I've also seen that perfectionism in particular is an inner child wound that was
Right.
not healed, right? Where you were expected to be perfect in order
Mm.
for you to be loved. And now
Yeah.
that's become status quo, is I need to be perfect, otherwise they'll reject me, they'll abandon
Yeah.
me, they won't love me, right? So there's
Mm.
also that kind of added element. So
So even fear
that
of
showed up for me.
failure, right, is a big one, right? I'm afraid I'm going to fail, so I'm going to put it off for the longest time.
Right. So I don't have to face that fear. I'll just
Yes.
hide, I'll just avoid.
Yeah. Or judgment. I think that's also a big one, right?
Absolutely. Right.
It's
Judgment.
like I won't take action because if I did, then what will other people think? Or if I make a mistake, right, then everybody will know or find out. And I think this also kind of ties in with a lot of our clients um who are kind of moving from like maybe that corporate kind of lifestyle to wanting to be more of a speaker or, putting themselves out there, right? So that fear of judgment,
For sure.
we can definitely see, is that procrastination action or characteristic trait of that as well.
Which reminds me of something. Okay, Maisha. For the longest time, I was a procrastinator because I didn't understand, not just the procrastinator, a perfectionist also, right? I didn't understand why I kept swinging
Mm,
between these two polar kind of ends, right? But what I realized is I wasn't actually like when I did healing, I'm sure like a lot of it had to do with all the healing work I did,
mm,
right? I'm sure I was truly a procrastinator and a perfectionist until I did the healing work. But then I realized that the procrastination was an asset, like it was a
mm,
strength because it allowed me to focus on what's immediate right now, like
mm,
what needs to be done right now rather than worrying or focusing on things that aren't relevant right now, right? So I
mm.
learned it actually helped me in being able to prioritize. And it's true, like what I was saying earlier.
Subconsciously,
Conscious,
right?
no,
Because you
consciously,
wouldn't, oh, so, but I mean,
consciously.
let's clarify a little bit of that because you wouldn't think yourself, I'm going to procrastinate now to focus on the things that are important. It's kind of automatic where you're like, let me focus on the things that
No,
are important.
so
Yeah.
so good point, and let me
Mm,
clarify that.
yeah.
There was a time where I would procrastinate on tasks and then get upset with myself because
Mm,
you're procrastinating.
right.
Until I went through my own journey, obviously, and I realized because I started trusting myself more, right? So
Yeah.
I stopped judging myself. I started
Mm,
believing in myself and trusting myself. So it wasn't like, why, like, it was like, well, why, if I didn't do something, I'm not going to just say it's because I'm a procrastinator and get angry at myself and be upset about it, right?
mm,
Instead, it was kind of like trying to understand, well, why am I not doing this?
mm.
Right? And I realized there were some really valid reasons sometimes, like it just didn't feel right.
But you just labeled it as you were
Procrastination,
judging yourself and labeling it as procrastination. And because it's looked at as something negative, right?
correct. And
So
I
you
was
were
so
beating
used to
yourself
it.
up about it. Yeah.
Right. I was constantly putting myself down. I didn't have that
Mm,
self love. So I was quick to judge my actions as procrastination instead of trying to understand why I felt that way, like not wanting
yeah.
to do something or pushing it off.
Right.
So, a couple of really interesting things I learned as I learned to trust myself was one, sometimes I didn't do something because it didn't feel like the right thing to do. Like it didn't feel like the
Mm,
right move. It felt like some other better solution would come in its place. And it's true, if I waited long enough,
yeah.
something better would come along,
Mm,
or the decision didn't have to be made that way anymore, right?
yeah.
The other thing I discovered is that sometimes it's procrastination because it isn't it isn't important right now to
Mm,
channel or direct my energies into that thing.
yeah.
It can wait, right? And I
Mm,
had to learn to trust my own judgment that I could allow this to sit, like to sit on the table, right? And not have to deal with it, but trust that I would still get it done because that's hard too.
so the word procrastination or that label, I mean, it's probably changed into something more like what would
Soft.
you call it now?
So
It's
now it's a skill of
mm,
being able to prioritize
yeah.
what really matters,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
So, and oh my God, I have such a great example. Wow, I think this topic today is about this example because I
Yeah.
needed to tell myself this.
Mm, mm.
I had an exam certification
Okay.
due the week I got back from my TEDx talk, so
Mm.
I got back on like a Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday. It was due on a Thursday. I got back on a Tuesday morning, early morning, so it was a night flight. My exam certification was due on a Thursday. And my entire class was given exactly 1 week to complete this exam certification. And the instructor said, 10 hours is a sweet spot to be able to complete this exam and do a good job at it, like somewhere around that. But if you're slow, it might take you a little longer. Now, I'm not slow. I'm actually very fast.
Mm.
So I'm something called a quick start. I'm very, very fast at getting things done. So I said, if she said the sweet spot's around 10 hours, okay, I can do this. But coming back, when you're traveling through multiple time
Jet
zones,
lag, yeah.
you're exhausted. I've just come out of like a really grueling couple of days
Burnout, yeah,
rehearsal.
absolutely, yeah.
Your body needs to recover. Not only that, I left my kids for 2 weeks. I had
Yeah,
to
they
catch up
want
on
time
school
with
things.
you.
I had
Yeah.
to catch up on my two different businesses. Like, you know what I mean? It was
Mm-hmm.
like Thursday came around and I hadn't even started.
Mm.
And everybody else was freaking out because they found 1 week was too little. So the
I hope your teacher's not listening to
No,
this.
so I might even send this to her to explain. But anyways, what happened was the instructor said, like, I guess a lot of people were freaking out and you could see that, right? So the
Mm.
instructor said, all right, I'll give you guys 1 more week,
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
right? So in my head, we had like another, I don't know why I thought I had till like the second week of October. I actually
Mm.
just had until like the following week, like a couple more days, the
Mm.
weekend plus a couple more days, which is
Right.
still amazing. I was very grateful.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, now I have time. And in my head, the sweet spot's about 10 hours. I can figure out 10 hours, right? And I still had so many other priorities that were urgent that needed to get done now,
Right.
right? So every day went by, getting closer and closer to the due date of October 4, I think, right? It had to be
Mm.
submitted. And essentially, I started working on this project the morning at at 8 a.m. and I had to turn it in by, you could say, 8 a.m. the next day. So
Right.
I had 24 hours to submit this.
Mm.
So what did I do? I procrastinated. I
Yeah.
completely procrastinated
Mm.
because I didn't know where to start. So I was feeling overwhelmed. And I was
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed because I had so many other things that were bigger priorities, including my two children had, what do you call it? They had performances in school. So
Mm.
two half days I had to go to school, be there for the performance. We had basketball games, lots of stuff going on. So it wasn't just work related, but it was like life.
Yeah.
And so I procrastinated. The day comes, I start working at 8. And I'm feeling really good, Maisha, because I am just cracking through this exam certification. It was like a Google Doc.
Mm.
It was like she gave us maybe 30, 40 pages of a Google Doc to complete. It was like a consulting kind of, certification. And I wrote and did the work and got to about 90 pages.
Wow.
And I literally must have done 10 to 12 hours. And I work fast. So I know that 10 to 12 hours in like other human hours is probably like
Other human
one and a,
hours. I like
huh?
that. Is
Other,
it?
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I work really fast. Like I'm like,
Mm.
when I'm focused and I know how to focus because I've done
We
time
got to add
management
another 30, 40%
and
of our time.
my theta skills or whatever. So I knew like 10 to 12 hours in my time is like really equivalent to 1.5 times for
Mm.
somebody else or even double.
Yeah.
As in like 10 to 12 hours for me, like of constant working could be 18 hours or 20 hours.
Yeah.
So
And
I was
you
like,
can bend time with Theta Healing. You bend time also, which is
yeah.
giving you
So
extra time.
I was like, I'm golden.
Mm.
Great. I'm doing good. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. What I'm doing, I'm sure it's going to be like great. But as the day went by, I had a dinner that night and I didn't want to cancel because I'm always working during weeknights. So I don't get to do sometimes couple things with my husband. And it
Mm.
was with like a really good friend of his. So I didn't want to cancel the dinner to work on this because I felt like finally I'm showing up for like, so that little
Yeah.
bit of guilt didn't, I said, I'm going to go for dinner and I need the break anyways. And I ended up working till like 2 a.m. And the
Mm.
next morning I had like an AI seminar, early in the morning.
Yes. Okay.
So I submitted at 2 a.m. after like 10 to 12 hours of working. And I was feeling pretty good about it, but I knew that by the end of it, I was tired, I was bleary-eyed, I was just doing it to get it done.
Right.
Okay? Anyways, submitted. I get my results back.
Mm.
Half of the class submitted, I think. A lot of them just didn't submit because it was too much and they weren't ready to, they decided to do it a little later or whatever, whatever. And by the way, I found out that day because of the time difference that I submitted at 2 a.m., but she gave another day extension
Okay.
because she in her head had it was the next day. Like there was a whole
Right.
24 hours, but I had
Because
already
it's the
submitted and
US time zone, right?
yeah,
So.
and like she gave an extra day on top of that
Mm.
8 a.m. due date. There was still another day, and I just didn't go back to it because I was like, I'm like burnt out of like 12 hours straight. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
almost a
It's
little
like
bit
I'm
already.
done.
I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm not going back to it, even though I could have probably improved it.
Mm.
Anyways, out of like 20 people, 15, 20 people, I was the only two people who didn't get a distinction
Oh,
in the scoring.
wow.
Yeah. And you know me,
Whoa.
I'm like such an achiever, such an overachiever.
I thought you were gonna say, and I did. I got.
No, I was at
Whoa.
the bottom of
What?
the group of people. Maybe there was like 15 people submitted. I was at the bottom. I was the bottom too. Okay. And actually, I got one or two sections totally off. And it was the
Mm.
section I was doing at like 1 or 2 a.m. So I
Right.
know it was the one. And I kind of tried to shortcut because I did feel the time pressure. So in my
Mm.
head, I'm like, 10 hours, I have plenty of time. I can do this. And I thought I gave more time, but because I didn't have any flexibility, because
Mm.
I left it to the last minute, I left it to the exact amount of time
Yeah.
that I thought I needed based on,
Mm.
what was said. And I assumed I could deliver great in those 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I was at the bottom. I mean, I still
So
passed, I got
what did
certified.
you learn from this? What is the wisdom?
So that's why I'm telling the story. And I know I took a really long time to tell that story, but I was kind of collecting my thoughts as well. So
No,
the
no, you
wisdom,
I want to know because it's just now let's get to that exciting part of the
the
end.
story.
Well, what did you learn?
Well, I learned that I really did put more pressure than I could handle on
Mm.
myself, right? Like I left it literally to the time,
Yeah.
to the last minute. And
Mm.
honestly, I was kind of really upset because I almost wanted to blame the situation. But like, oh, but she said it was 10 to 12 hours and I'm a
Mm.
fast worker. So I gave
Mm.
myself 10 to 12 hours, but I think I needed another day or another 6 hours to do a better
Mm.
job for me to have been in the distinction range. So I kind
Right.
of felt like I was cheated. Like, hey, you should have told me that we needed more time. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because like I
Mm.
already cushioned myself and it
So
still
that was the
wasn't enough time.
first, the app right after it
Right after was
happened,
just
right?
like, hey, this, like, I got gypped. Like, that's not fair, right? That was my first thing. My first reaction was like, blame the situation because, I don't really not do well.
Yeah.
I generally do well because I'm such a overachiever and I put all my effort into something. So the first thing was like, oh, it's not me, it's them,
Yeah.
right? And then I had to acknowledge that I chose to continue to go for dinner. I could have
Mm.
canceled. But listen, guys, like I am someone who cancels everything for work. So it
Mm.
just felt like this time I'm not going to cancel
Yeah.
something that I'm doing also kind of to spend time with my husband, which is
Mm.
also something of being considerate of him. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to cancel. So I was at peace with that choice.
Yes. So
And I
that
was at
wasn't the, yeah.
yeah, and I was at peace with the choice that I worked till 2 a.m. and I didn't go further than that because I had an AI seminar and I had to be somewhere at 9 a.m.
Mm.
So I also took responsibility for making that choice to not spend the extra. I could have spent another extra hour or two. I've pulled all-nighters before, but I said no, 2 a.m. is my cutoff. I'm going to bed. So I was also at peace with that choice. Okay. And then there were things that I chose to do instead of working on this earlier, including spending time with the kids and like other things that other people were depending on me for. So even that, I said, I take responsibility and I accept that I made that choice, and I still would make that choice.
Yeah.
Right? So what I had to do was switch from blaming the situation and feeling like it was like I kind of, like it was not fair,
Mm.
right? Because then there was that extra day and I didn't plan for it and blah, blah. Anyways, I got out of that and started taking responsibility for all the choices that led me to not be able to perform and do a better job.
Right.
And then when I thought about it, I said, would I make a different choice today?
Mm.
I said no.
Yeah.
I would not make any of those choices differently. They were the right choices. But what I would do is I would have given myself a little bit more time
Time. Yeah.
to start working on it instead of
Mm.
leaving it till the last
This
minute.
minute. Right.
So I did procrastinate.
Mm.
I justified the procrastination,
Mm.
but I had to take responsibility for the
You pulled
choices.
back and then realized. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I think. I'm still working through that
Yeah.
because it just happened yesterday,
Mm.
where I found out I was the bottom rung. And I think more than anything, my teacher or instructor would probably
Was
have been the
surprised.
most
Yeah.
surprised,
Yeah. I'm sure.
because I'm generally such a, all-star kind of thing.
Mm.
So I think more than anything, she might have been surprised, as was I. But I actually genuinely thought I had a really good submission. It's in
Yeah.
retrospect that I realized that no, I needed more time, and I had to account for the fact that I haven't gone for the last 1 month on this TEDx thing and
Mm.
have fallen behind on some of those
Yeah.
trainings or those things. So
But I think another point that I picked up from what your example was is um, clarity. I think some people they don't have the full picture and the clarity of what they want to do, or like with you, you're like, okay, it's going to take this much. But if you zoomed out, right? Or maybe you kind of understood the chatter where everybody's like, oh my God, it's so hard, or whatever it was, right? Maybe it would have been more clear that maybe it's not as easy. I'm just putting that out there, right? And I needed more time. So I think people also procrastinate because they're not clear about what to do or what's their next step or what could happen. It's like the unknown. So a lot of
overwhelmed.
this, without overwhelm, without being very clear about what could potentially happen, right? Or the clarity of why I'm doing this or my purpose. I feel like clarity is also very important.
Yeah.
I had a client earlier who's like, she just finished, this big project that she had. And then she's like, all of a sudden, she felt like the sinking feeling. She's like, I've been working for this for so long and it's done. And all of a sudden, I feel really, really sad. Is because now I realize, oh, I need to start working on other things in my life. I need to start working on my relationship or, dating more or whatever it was. And she wasn't clear about why. So she felt really stuck, right? She didn't know why, or she wasn't clear about why she wanted to be in a relationship. It was more like, I want to be in a relationship to have a family because, I just want to have that feeling versus there should be very clear reasons about why you want to have something or do something,
Yeah.
right? Then
So
that brings that inspiration and motivation, right? If you're very clear, then you will take action. A lot of us are very wishy-washy on why we are doing what we're doing. And I think that's also very important to know that if you are clear about what you want to do, then you feel inspired and that will
totally.
motivate you.
In fact, in a lot of my programs, Soulmate Magnet in particular, right? I actually do this exercise at the beginning. Why do you want to be with somebody,
Yeah.
right? Like, is it because society wants you to be with someone? Is it because
Mm.
your parents? Is it because the fear of like not having kids? Like,
And
why?
it's so funny and schools, oh, interesting what people say, and you're just like, that's why you want to be in a relationship, and this is why it doesn't, happen or sustain or you don't go far, right?
Yeah,
That's
because the
very important.
foundation or the motivation or the intention often is misaligned,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
misaligned. But I just want to kind of address. There's a lot of a comments in the chat we have not
Yeah.
really talked about. So I just want to go back to this. So So there's a question, may I ask what root belief on resentment to heal with past relationships or an ex? So to answer that one, I found that when we resent someone else for a relationship issue, right? And I'm talking about a love relationship, a friendship, a parent. When we resent someone else, it's usually because we are angry with ourselves for the choice we made or for allowing that to happen. So I find that first healing the anger towards yourself or the betrayal or the resentment towards yourself for what happened in that relationship makes it
Yeah.
easier to forgive the other person.
Yeah.
So what are the choices, or what am I most upset with myself about when it comes to this relationship? Is it
Yeah.
because I let this happen, or I didn't say no, or I didn't,
Yeah.
leave soon enough? So that kind of thing I
And
find can
and I
really help.
think also that idea of everything, like we talked about that last time, is happening for me. So if this situation is happening for me, then what can I learn from this? And how
Yeah,
can I, because once we see that it's not that they did this to me, it's more like, how is this serving me? Then you can look internally,
yeah.
right? Because if you can't even, accept that part of it, that things are happening for me, it's happening to me, then it's so easy to get caught up in the game and not look,
With it,
internally. I think
which
that's all the part.
if you go back to my story, was
Yeah.
exactly the shift for me,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Initially, I wanted to blame the situation and the moving
Yeah.
deadlines and then the unclear amount of hours to, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just wanted to blame, and then I had to just take ownership that I made certain choices
Yeah.
that put me behind schedule and
Yeah.
put me in a position where I was racing against time.
Hmm.
And yes, I got tired and didn't deliver my best, right? Fair
Yeah.
enough, right? But it's also just taking ownership and responsibility will
Hmm.
always allow you to rise from that and do
Yeah.
better, even better. So instead of like getting mad at yourself or putting yourself down or like blaming yourself, you can now be like, okay, well, how has this, allowed me to grow? How has this helped me?
Yeah.
What has this taught me? And I'll
Hmm.
do a better job of, for example, for me, I'll do a better job of not leaving things so
Planning.
close to
Yeah.
a deadline,
Yeah.
recognizing that I will make choices like, taking care of my family or my husband's or being considerate about things around me. Therefore, I need to build in that extra time of flexibility, recognizing that other people depend on me or are connected to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Quaker said she's been a crammer since school. Yep, totally feel you. Krish says, love you, Maisha and Sanaiyah. So much love right back at you from us. We love you. Um, Chloe is just like laughing at us because she's probably resonating with so much. And let's see. Bev says, is exactly what I needed to hear right this moment. Chloe says, I can relate. We must have self compassion. Absolutely. So it's only when you take ownership and you own like basically owning the choices you made, then you can
Hmm.
be compassionate with yourself.
Yeah.
Like I chose this, and as a result, I lost out here. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. That's the choice I made. And you know what? I kind of came out of this. I know I keep going back to my story because I think I'm still like doing a little bit of healing on myself as I'm
Hmm.
speaking. Is like I
Self-reflection. Yeah.
yeah, like I feel like at the end of the day, does it really matter that I wasn't the top of that
Hmm.
group? Like I'm just I just don't know any other way to be
Yeah.
that to
Yeah.
be at the bottom, like bottom of that ranking is
Hmm.
weird for me. And then when I
Yeah.
think about it, I mean, so what?
Yeah.
Right? I still know that my capability is way beyond what I delivered. And if
Yeah.
I really wanted to re-deliver on that, I could at a much higher level. And I do feel that that score actually doesn't reflect me. So
Yes.
it's
So the
actually okay.
self-belief, right,
Self-belief,
is very, very important. Because if
important.
you know you're capable and you know you're enough, right, it's then it just goes back to I just needed to spend more time next time around,
Yeah,
right? And it's a matter of fact. It's factual. It's the truth. It happened, and this is what I need to do, versus this whole like,
I failed
getting
or
into
I
this,
didn't. I mean, I
yeah.
got an 83, which I'm like, that is really low. But then actually, it's like,
Out of what is this? 100?
I think 105 or
Okay.
103.
Wow,
I don't, huh?
yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, it's not bad, but like
Yeah, yeah,
in my head, I'm like, okay, I don't want to keep repeating that. But the point is, like, I think what I realize that it's okay not to be that great at something or,
yeah.
but see, this doesn't really say I'm not great at it. I just didn't, like, basically the score is reflective of the time I put into
The
it.
effort, yeah,
It is not reflective of my capability
correct.
or how smart or not smart I am.
Mm,
It is reflective of the amount of time and energy I put into delivering this
yeah,
certification exam. So the number of points I got is just reflective of the kind of output I gave. But I
yeah.
think what happens to us in life, and I think this is the lesson, what happens to us in life, the outcome
Mm,
in our life, if we talk about relationships, whether I'm single, whether I'm happy, whether I married the right person. If we're talking about work, whether I get promoted, whether I'm paid XYZ, whether I'm, chosen to lead the team, whether I'm working for this company or that company, whether I get the transfer I want or not, right? We take these events as a measure of our worth and
yeah.
our value. Like if I am paid, I don't know,
XXX, then
40K,
you're good. Yeah.
then I am 40K level of good. And if I'm
Mm,
paid 150K, then I am 150K worth of good. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
We
yeah.
tend to measure and compare either to other people or through some kind of comparison or judgment
Mm, mm.
as a measure of our own worth and value.
Right. And what you went back to, it's more about how can I do better than what I did yesterday, right? Which is comparing yourself to you, which is what you said. You know what? Next time around, how can I do better? I will spend more time on
24
it.
hours accumulated over time instead of 10 to 12, which was kind of like the
Yeah.
bare minimum,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
maybe overestimating how much I could have gotten done in that time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a realization that, hey, the fact that I got an 83 was not bad or good. It's just a reflection of what I put in,
Yeah.
right? And next time I'm going to give myself more time and effort to deliver better if I want to, if I make
Yeah.
that choice that I want to deliver better. Because
Hmm.
I think you if you deliver better, it's because you've learned more. So that's
Yeah.
just another opportunity to like
Yeah.
learn more, to look at it that way. And I think if we walk through life that way, right, Maisha?
Mm,
We walk
mm.
through life without looking at every outcome as a setback or a failure or a judgment on our value, worth, or capabilities, then we
Yeah.
won't get stuck in that self judgment. We won't get stuck in that negativity or that, negative feeling. We'll just be like, okay, what do I have to do to improve that for next time if I want to get better?
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
matters enough for me, if it
Mm.
matters enough to me,
Yeah.
right? And if
And
it doesn't matter, I won't put the
I
effort.
think I think this is a great topic because this is something that a lot of people have a hard time doing, right? Their identity and who they have become is based on everybody
Performance,
else's expectations of them, right?
expectations, and performance.
Yeah, so it's like how do we get ourselves out of that, right? So you spoke a little bit about it, but I think that's really worth more detail into how we see that happening in our real world life.
Yeah, maybe
So,
it's about if we can look at effort equals result
mm,
instead of my value and worth is defined by my
equals, yeah,
result,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's more about my effort and my time equals the result,
mm,
not how good I am. So
yeah,
maybe if we just make that simple shift,
yeah,
that might be a good first step. And then we can probably take this topic to the next kind of
yeah.
level in future Theta Talks. But I
And
think
even like
make that
Malcolm Gladwell says, all you need is 10,000 hours in anything, then
good at it.
um you will be an expert at it, right?
Expert,
So
yeah.
it's just the effort that you put in, right? So it's not about
Absolutely.
whether you're good enough or not. So I promised everybody at the beginning that there could be also an angle behind procrastination, that could be something medical. And I just want to highlight that if you do have anything fungal or fungal infection or anything like that, it's an I'll do it later program, right? So if you have,
Procrastination.
let's like a toenail infection or something like that
Something
that's
fungal,
going on,
basically.
yeah,
Some kind
fungal
of
in your
fungus in the body.
body, then it is the belief or the root that's tied to it is I'll do it later. So that fungal could be because you are a procrastinator, then you may have something fungal going on in your body, or the other way around, right? You have something fungal and then you end up procrastinating. So
It
that's
could
something worth
work both ways.
worth
And
getting checked.
and by the way, sinus infections can
Ah, yeah.
come under that too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's actually an interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something we do see as well.
And
Okay,
yeah.
super.
So, I want to also announce that I'm also having a Discover Your Power event that is on the 16th of October, and it's exactly on procrastination,
Okay,
right?
what?
So,
But tell us what's a Discover Your Power event, Maisha? Like
what I do is a
what you do?
monthly event called Discover Your Power, where you can see how you can own your own abilities and claim back and take back that power to be able to shift and change your life. Like right now, we talked all about procrastination, but what do I do with it? How do I take the next step? And that's the taking action. So I will give you more clarity on what you can do to get out of this loop and cycle of procrastination. So it is on October 16th,
Beautiful.
7 to 8 p.m. So please do join us for that. I think we
Awesome.
don't have much time for our virtue cards, or should I quickly pick one?
Of course, you're going to quickly pick because we're not going to
Okay.
not do a virtue card for our people who are here. I'm sure this might be an interesting message for some of our guests. But you're right. We went a lot over time today, but that's okay.
Yeah, the topic is really
Touch.
worth it. So our virtue, oh, for today is pure intent.
Whoa, pure intent.
Okay, let
I
me
guess
read.
I
Do
guess
what? Yeah.
when your intention is to do your best, right? When you go in with something to do your best and that's your intention,
Mm,
then there's nothing to ever feel bad about,
mm, yeah.
right? It's the only measure ultimately is how you feel you did against your own self. Did I
Yeah.
give it my best?
Yes.
Right? And like
Absolutely.
if I reflect back on my exam certification, I gave it like I know with more time I could have delivered better. But I still gave it my best given the time that I had, and I am happy with that. I am proud of that. There's no need to kind of judge my performance based on that because ultimately I gave it everything I could given the circumstances I was in and the time that I had left myself with. And that is why it wasn't pure procrastination. You're right. It
It
wasn't
was
procrastination.
pure. You're because you had pure intent.
Yeah, I had pure intent. So there was no procrastination. It is the
Okay, good.
pure intent that corrects the procrastination.
I think you tied that really well into our topic, and even though it seemed like random, but it made absolute
I did
sense.
not plan to talk about this. That's why it was so funny that it came up, and I
No,
literally
and the
graduated.
cool thing is the way you went through it is like you're doing a session on yourself while you're talking, so people get an idea of what theta healing is, right? And how it
Yeah,
works. You
absolutely.
were doing self-digging,
I
right?
was doing
So,
self-digging and I
yeah,
was processing
yeah,
it. And
yeah,
this is actually how I process most things, because we've been trained how to walk through the what our mind is saying and how to keep pushing until we get the clarity and the awareness that a theta healer is trained to have,
yeah.
which is such a
It's
beautiful thing, right?
asking the right questions,
Asking the
right?
right question
Absolutely.
and not stopping until you get somewhere.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool. So we'll see you next week.
Sounds
Thank
like a
you for
plan.
joining us, guys,
Thank you, and
and
thank you for the
staying all the way
comments.
till the end.
Yeah, and I love the comments. Like today's comments were so
Very
great, you know?
interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zai's like doing my best. Evelyn's like, and your worth isn't tied to your achievements, and she's like summarizing it. And Claude is like, do your best. Self-worth
Oh,
theory explains procrastination, Evelyn says. So cool.
love.
This
Beautiful.
topic is light bulb, light bulb, light bulb moment for me. All right, so we shall see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.